Okay, the first thing that you do it's expression. The next thing is equation. So it's equation. An equation is made up of symbols, numbers, operations, and the equal to sign. So these are the four things that an equation is made up of. Now symbols are usually x and y. So x is the most common one. Numbers are a, b, c, d, or 1, 2, 3, 4. Operations are plus, minus, multiplication, division, and the equal to sign looks like this. So in other words, an equation is nothing but expression equals to 0. In a very loose term, it is an expression equals to 0. So that's what an equation is. So we can call an equation as an expression equals to 0. In other words, symbols, numbers, operations, and equal to sign. Now when we talk about an equation, just like expression, we can refer to them as examples of, this is a linear polynomial expression. If you give equal to 0, it becomes a linear equation. When you have a quadratic polynomial expression, if you give equal to 0, it becomes a quadratic equation. When you have a cubic polynomial expression, it becomes a cubic equation. We have a cubic equation. So this is our polynomial equation. This is the most common equations that will be given in the exam. That's what will be given. Now when we talk about an equation, now that we have defined an equation, the question is, what do we do to an equation? If you remember, we can simplify or factorize an expression. Now what can we do to an equation? We can solve an equation. So when the question comes, what do you do to an equation? You can solve an equation. Okay, so what is the meaning of solve an equation? To solve an equation is to find the unknown value. Now the unknown value is the symbol. So the unknown value is the symbol. So here the unknown value is x. So to find the unknown value is to solve the equation. Now this unknown value is referred to it as the root of the equation. You have to remember, there is one thing called square root that looks like this. Square root, this symbol, we are not referring to this thing, it's called the square root. We are talking about the unknown value of x, it's called a root. It is also sometimes called the solution of the equation. The solution of an equation, like if there is a crime, you solve the crime, you find the who caused the trouble or who's the murderer. It's like that, we call it solution. So the root or the solution of the equation is the unknown value. Usually that unknown value is x. Now the question is, how do you solve it? So let me give you an equation solving a linear, let me call it a linear equation instead of calling it a linear polynomial equation. Okay, so when you have a linear equation like 2x minus 4 equals to 0, all you do, send all the numbers on the right hand side. So 2x equals to this minus 4, if you go to the other side, will become plus 4. And then, so the minus on the other side of the equation becomes reversed and it becomes positive, and twice x means 2 multiplied by x. When you send this to the other side, it will be divided. It will be 4 divided by 2. So it will be 2 to the 4, so it will be 2. So therefore x would be 2. So you have found the root of the equation. Now let me define the root of the equation a bit more clearly. If the question is, what is the root of an equation, remember the root of the equation makes the equation true. Remember, the root makes the equation true. Now what does that mean? Let's put the value of x equals to 2 back into the equation. So if I put, let me just show you, x equals to 2 back in the equation, so I will put it here 2, here x I'm putting 2, minus 4 equals to 0. So 2 to the 4 minus 4 equals to 0. 4 minus 4 is 0. 0 equals to 0. Now this is true. 0 is indeed equals to 0. So this thing is true. If I had put in something else, for example, if I had put in 1 here, it would be 2 ones are 2. Minus 4 is minus 2. Now minus 2 is not equal to 0. So that is not true. So another way of defining what is the root of an equation, it is that value of x, or the variable, which makes the equation true. So when you solve a linear equation, so this is what you get. You send everything to the right hand side and you solve it. So let me show you another linear equation. Linear equation, it can be 5x plus 10 equal to 0. So these are very basic linear equations. Let me make it 15x to make it more interesting. So I can write 15x on the left hand side and everything else on the right hand side, so minus x. So I can write therefore x is equals to minus 10 divided by 15. So I can cancel this off. It is 5 3s are 15, 5 2s are 10. So the answer is going to be x equals to minus 2 by 3. So that's how you solve it. Now for solving linear equations, we can also be using fractions. This is also a linear equation. Let me use it as example 3. If you have something like 2x minus 1 plus 5 by 3 equals to 1 by 2. So now this is an equation. Now the first thing we do is we take LCM. X minus 1 into 3, we multiply this, x minus 1 into 3, this will be equals to half as before. So we multiply x minus 1 into 3 to get this thing. So it will be 3 multiplied this. That's what we do. Multiply this with what? You get this. With 3 we get this. So multiply upstairs with that thing, 3 into that, plus 3 into this is this. So this is 3 into x minus 1 is this, because there is already 3 here. So we do x minus 1 into 5. Let me write 5 here before, it makes more sense. So what we do is we can write 3 to the 6, 5 into x is 5x minus 5 divided by 3 into x minus 3 equals to 1 by 2. So this is going to be 6 minus 5 is 1, so 5x minus 1 divided by 3x minus 3 equals to 1 by 2. Now there is a thing in equation solving of this sort, when you have upstairs downstairs equals to upstairs downstairs, it has to be like this. It has to be like this. This by this equals to this by this. When you have this, you can cross multiply. Remember, you cannot cross multiply all the time. You cannot cross multiply. Now say if there was plus e here, you cannot do that. You can only cross multiply when you have upstairs downstairs equals to upstairs downstairs. So when you have something like this, you can write a into d. So a into d, and you do b into c. Remember, you can only cross multiply. It has upstairs by downstairs equal to upstairs by downstairs. If there is anything added or subtracted here, you cannot cross multiply. This is very, very important. And you usually, when you're doing this fraction algebra, linear equation, you have to cross multiply. So we are still in the process of forming a linear equation like the one that we did previously, a simple linear equation. Let's cross multiply. So this is a into d means 2 into 5x minus 1 equals to 3x minus 3 into 1 is going to be 1 into 3x minus 3. So this will be 5 to the 10x minus 2, and this would be 3x minus 3. So let's bring all the x on one side. So 10x minus 3x and all the numbers on the other side. So minus 3x plus 2. So this would be 7x, and this would be minus 1. 2 minus 3 is minus 1. So we are now in this single format. We can find x equals to minus 1 by 7. Now let's see a quadratic equation. Let me clear this. Okay. So solving a quadratic, remember quadratic means the highest power is 2. That's what it means. So solving a quadratic equation. So a quadratic equation, if you remember, looks like this: a x squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. That's a quadratic equation. Now, in order to solve a quadratic equation, all we have to do is first factorize. So also known as solving by the factorizing rule. Factoring rule. So that's all you do. So example 1, suppose you have a quadratic equation x squared plus x minus 6 equals to 0. So you know there will be a middle term break, so you can do x squared plus 3 to the 6. It should be minus, it should be minus, so minus 6. So x squared, so 6 into 1 is 6. If we break this down, it would be 3 to the 6. So 3 minus 2 is 1. So 3x minus 2x minus this equals to 0. If we take x common, it would be x plus 3. If we take minus 2 common, since this is minus, this will be plus, x plus 2, and this will be equal to 0. So it will be x plus 3, x minus 2 equal to 0. Now we are going to have two values of x. Now what we do here, we do one thing is x plus 3 equals to 0. We write this for x plus 3 equals to 0. Therefore x equals, so this is one linear, this is one linear. Notice that in a quadratic there are two linear factors. So if you factorize a quadratic equation, you get two linear factors. So this will become minus 3. Then for x minus 2 equals to 0, you can write x equals to 2. So the answer is going to be x equals to minus 3 or x equals to 2. Now you don't have to write this. If you want to, you can write it, or you can just from here you can directly write down your answer here. But if you want to, you can write it. This is what is actually happening. So example 2, let's do another x squared plus x minus 12 equals to 0. So let's do, we can also solve it by the factoring rule. So using the factoring rule, it's going to be middle term break. 12 into 1 is 12. So let me show you the process here. 12 can be broken down in many ways. 6 to the 12. 12 can be broken 4 3 the 12. But here we need plus 1, meaning plus x. So 6 minus 2. 6 minus 2, if you break it down, is 4. Doesn't work. The middle term needs to be plus 1. 6 plus 2 is 8. So this doesn't work. 4 plus 3 is 7. Doesn't work here. 4 minus 3 is 1. So we are going to use 4x minus thrice x. So x squared plus 4x minus thrice x minus 12 equals to 0. If we take x common, it will be x plus 4 minus 3. If we take minus common, it will be x plus 4 equals to 0. So this is going to be x plus 4 and this is going to be x minus 3 equals to 0. Remember, when we solve a quadratic equation, we have two factors. So two factors, so we can write, actually it's going to be x minus 3. So two factors, so we are going to get x equals to, for x plus 4 equals to 0 would be minus 4, or x minus 3 equals to 0 is going to be x equals to 3. That's going to be the answer. So every quadratic equation will have two roots. Remember, these are roots. So they have two roots. A linear equation, they has one root. Remember that. So example 3 could be like this: x square minus 25 equals to 0. Now remember, this technique is difference of square technique. So x square minus 5 square equals to 0. We can factorize by x plus 5. X minus 5 equals to 0. Therefore x equals to minus 5 or x equals to 5. So these are the two roots, and we are using a different technique, factoring, and this technique is difference of square technique. And let's do one more example here. This one is x square plus twice x equals to 0. Now this is the common rule where you just take common, nothing else to do. If you take x common, and the other one is x plus 2 equals to 0. Now here one value would be x equals to 0, or another value will be x equals to minus 2. So that's how you do factoring, and that's how you do solving a quadratic equation by the factoring rule. Now there is one more rule how you can solve this, and that is called quadratic formula. You can solve it. Let me correct this. Solving this using the quadratic formula. Now the quadratic formula can be used to directly solve this. Now ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0 is the quadratic polynomial equation. Now to solve this, meaning to find the root directly, there is a formula called the quadratic formula, which is given most of the time during the exam, but it comes in handy if you memorize it. The rule is this: minus coefficient of x called b minus b, plus and minus, we write plus and minus together because quadratic equations always have two roots. Square root of b squared minus 4, coefficient of x squared is a, and the term that has no x, only constant, is c, divided by twice a. So this formula is called the quadratic formula. So whenever we have a term that cannot be solved by middle term break, now you don't have to check that, it will be mentioned in the question. Write your answer in decimal places. That means you have to use the quadratic formula. So whenever you have to use the quadratic formula, so let me show you an example. Example 1. So 2x squared plus x minus 7 equals to 0. Now 2 7s are 14. Now there is no way 2 7s are 14, so 14 can be written as 7 into 2. There is no other way we can write 14. So 7 plus 2 is 9, 7 minus 2 is 5. There is no way you can get plus 1. So you cannot do this by factoring rule because there is no factor to this. So when you have something like this that cannot be used the factoring rule, so you have to use the quadratic formula. So therefore directly x equals to minus b. Now what is b? B is the coefficient of x. Remember, b is whatever is multiplied with x, so it is plus 1, plus minus square root over b squared, so it is 1 squared minus 4. A is the coefficient of x squared. Whatever multiplied with x squared is called a. A is 2, and c is the constant. So here the c is minus 7, so it will be minus 7. So divided by twice a. A is the coefficient of x squared, which is 2. So this would be minus 1 plus minus root over 1 minus 4 into minus 7 into 2. Let me bring out the calculator. So here it is. So we need minus 4 into 2 into minus 7. So minus 4 into 2 into minus 7. So we get plus 56 divided by 2 to the 4. So this could be minus 1 plus minus root over 57 divided by 4. Now there are two answers. So x equals to minus 1 plus root over 57 divided by 4. Now we can calculate this, and this is going to be minus 1 plus root over 57 is equals to this divided by 4. So it is 1.6375 or x can be minus 1. This time we are going to take the next one minus square root of 57 divided by 4. So this is going to be minus 1 minus square root of 57 equals to this divided by 4. So this will be minus 2.137 minus 2.137, and the answer is x equals to, most of the time they say write the answer to 2 decimal places. So after point 2 decimal places, so 1.6, this 3 will become 4, it will be increased, so 1.64 or minus 2.14. So this is how you solve an equation using the quadratic formula. So let's do a little review of what we have done. So the first thing that we need to know here is what is an equation. The next thing is what is the root of an equation, meaning an equation when it has roots, the root makes the equation come true. But let me paraphrase it more, it should be how to solve an equation. Of course, I'm referring to linear equation and quadratic equation only here. I'll be referring to a cubic equation separately. The next question is how to solve a quadratic equation. Now there are two rules. One is the factoring rule. You first factor it and then you find the root, and the other one is called the quadratic formula. Quadratic formula, that's it.